This is Seasons of Discontent with your hosts Rick Snyder and Matt Combs on the Hogstye Network.
Welcome to Seasons of Discontent, and it's Season 8, Episode 3, brought to you by Rick Snyder's Washington across social media. I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt.
And we're back discussing all things Washington sports and life as part of the YouTube network. So please like, share, subscribe, comment, even hit the thanks button. Hit the thanks button. That's the most important one. All right, so I figured the first show we're going to do the draft, and then we'll be back on Thursday, and we'll talk about everything else that's going on here. What'd you think of the draft, Matt? I gave it a B-. I was probably generous.
I really don't do grades because I'll be honest with you, I don't watch enough college football. Like, I didn't watch enough Mississippi State games to tell you if Emmanuel Forbes is going to be good. My thing, and from what everybody had heard, I mean, we'll go through the draft picks, is there were better guys available when they picked, but it really seems that they picked for need. I think one of the problems with Ron Rivera being the head of personnel is that he locks in on guys and he picks them no matter what. Like I said, I who knows what any of these guys are going to end up being, but I guess I give it a C.
I was a little generous. The first 2 days I'd have said C. The third day I really liked what they did with those picks. I mean, those aren't the starters, but still, they're the picks you have. And I thought they did a really good job third day. So I raised it up to a B-. Here's the thing with Emmanuel Forbes. They took 16th overall. Did you notice that it took Bill Belichick a New York minute to pick the 17th pick, where he went for a different corner?
Yeah.
Why Belichick moved? Does Belichick move that quick normally?
I have not seen a card ran up to the podium that fast since Vinny Serrato picked Brian Arakpo.
There you go. I mean, when Belichick's doing that, you always keep an eye on what Belichick's doing. That tells you something about the pick Washington had. Emmanuel Forbes, if I could get away from his weight, looks like a decent prospect. He's got good speed. He's been a ball hawk. He's played in a tough SEC. But in the end of the day, he's still 166 pounds at the NFL Combine.
And I'll say this about Forbes. He has the one thing that you can fix. Let him go hang out with the offensive lineman for a week. That boy will put on 20 pounds.
Yeah, I don't think he will.
Do you risk losing speed when you put on more weight?
Yeah, and he's also, well, it's a couple of things. One, he's one of 10 kids, so he must have been sitting at the end of the dinner table.
Yeah.
But two, he's naturally skinny. I could put on 20 pounds easier, and he can put on 20 pounds.
True.
Because his body's just not going to allow it. And if they said 166 at the Combine, like, well, he played in the 170s last season. Listen, let me tell you an insider story about scales and NFL and college teams. They put down whatever number they want. It doesn't matter. I've had many, many, many players. I say, you were this weight? He goes, they go, nah, PR guy wrote that down all the time. So you can't trust the weight there, but you can trust the weight at the NFL Combine because there's lots of people looking at that one. So can he get up into the 170s? I'll bet you that he's listed at 181 on the training camp roster. That's my overrun. But the problem is they lose weight during the season too, a lot of these guys, and he'll be down 5 to 10 pounds in December. Now you got a guy who's weighing 170-ish, and people go, Darryl Green? Well, Darryl Green was also 3-4 inches shorter, and that made him a more compact 180, more or less. So you can't say that either. Or Pat Fisher, well, geez, that was half a century ago. And he was half crazy, so you couldn't trust that number.
Yeah, this kid looked like Todd Pinkston, the former receiver for the Eagles. He's got these long, lengthy, skinny arms and skinny legs. But look, I'll say this. I mean, on the positive side, what is the one thing that this team could not do last year? Create turnovers. The kid creates turnovers, and he takes them to the house. If he can do half of what he did in his college career here, I mean, it's going to pay off. But it all depends on pass rush. We know how the NFL works, that he'll get more opportunities with the better pass rush.
There's a lot of upside to him doing that. He's smart, he's instinctual, but he studies the game. Those are all great things. Mm-hmm. It's just when you're on a football field and things suddenly go a little sideways, then there's a 300-pound lineman downfield blocking who's ready to take you out. that scares me that he's not going to be able to survive that way. Although if he weighed 185, I go, that was a good pick. Kind of interesting. I'd have taken a different guy anyway, but I wouldn't have had nearly my concerns.
And I would have taken a different guy because Christian Gonzalez was sitting there. Christian Gonzalez was slated to be a top 10 pick. I mean, I don't know what the kid did to fall, but, and everybody's going to sit here and tell you, oh, well, he didn't fit your scheme. He doesn't fit the zone, blah, blah, blah. If he's a ball player, he can fit any scheme, and like you said at the beginning, Bill Belichick, he hasn't moved that fast since he was 25 years old. I mean, he ran that pick up there. They didn't even get a chance to really talk about Forbes before the Patriots pick was in. So, that worries me. Did we go for the wrong guy? But, we'll talk about this 3 years down the road, because you really have to give these guys 3 years.
I think we're going to still be here in 3 more years. Okay.
I will be, hopefully. God willing.
Right. So, Jartavius Martin, I like that name, Jartavius.
And they call him Quan.
I know. Oh, like Quan. Jartavius sounds like you're ready to enter the Coliseum and stab somebody,
And I'll be honest with you, from what I've seen with this kid, I was actually a little bit higher on this pick than most people on social media. Did I understand it? No. But somebody really broke it down for me. This is your Bobby McCain replacement. This is, I mean, we have good safeties, but what's going to hurt to add another one? And this is clearly an upgrade over Bobby McCain.
Yeah, I didn't have a real problem with it. Like you said, I might have gone a different way, but by then, the tight end movement had pretty much gone through. They didn't get Dalton Kincaid, which would have been nice, but neither did Dallas. They were hoping.
Yeah. Thank you, Buffalo.
Yeah, at least Dallas didn't get him, but
and that's the thing with the draft, Rick, is it's like leading up to the Commanders' pick, there was a run on what they needed. There was a run on offensive linemen in the second round. There was a run on tight ends in the second round. I mean, there were all these runs, and it was just like, oh, well, I guess we stick to our draft board.
Yeah, and you don't want the fourth best offensive tackle at 16.
Right.
That kind of thing. So I'm okay with that on there. But yeah, did you notice that ESPN kept going to commercial during Commanders picks again?
The only one they haven't gone to the commercial on is when they took Young, because he was the second pick in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, you just shake your head and go, everybody's talked about this. You'd think they'd say, okay, our secret screw you plot was figured out. Yeah, they're still doing it.
Hey, is there a clause in Josh Harris's bid that says you will not go to the damn commercial break during the draft?
Just amazing, Third rounder in the wee hours was Ricky Stromberg, a center. I got no problem taking a center. I mean, I don't know if he's any good or not, but they've had 2 centers, just both of them beaten to death in the last 2 years, and that's been a big problem for them. So will he start? I think Chase Rouillet is probably a cap cut because they're only like $2.2 million under the cap, and they still have to sign a rookie pool, which is going to cost them more than that. So they got to cut him, and I would think they'll probably cut Logan Thomas. They'll save about $7 million on the 2 cuts, and you're just going to have to, even if you don't want to, because you don't have any room. You got to still sign rooks. So Stromberg, I think, gets a chance.
Well, and the guy they signed in the offseason from the Giants, obviously he had season-ending, he had a catastrophe of an injury. So, he came back and played well last year, but that is always going to loom. So, hey, center depth. And of course, just like Ron Rivera likes to take, he is a multi-positional center. He can play guard. So, Ron likes to fill several holes with one guy.
Well, and they needed it desperately. We've seen that. And there's nothing wrong with, I think almost every lineman now in the league has to come in and play 2 positions.
And didn't they go through 4 centers the past 2 seasons?
I think 5.
Yeah, 4 or 5 centers each season. I mean, they've been banged up at center.
Yeah, so they've got to figure that out for sure. Then he went with guard, and Braden Daniels isn't going to start, but you need that depth, and he's got positions in him. So I'm okay with that. You need it because everybody's going, where are you taking offensive line? Well, you just want to take offensive linemen. I mean, like Sadiq Charles, Ron mentioned him after the draft about, we'll compete with Sadiq Charles. I thought, really? How long are we waiting for this dude, man? It's like, He's never going to play. He was a fourth rounder who was supposed to be in the first. Whew, that one just drives me nuts. That guy's going to have a vested pension and hardly ever step on a field. Damn. So then fifth rounder, they had to go defensive end because they do not have a veteran signed for 2024 defensive end. I mean, don't keep Chase or Montez, but one or the other. But right, you got to have somebody in the pipeline. I guess he's not a bad player. KJ Henry out of Clemson.
Yeah, and he's definitely an upgrade over like a Shaka Toney who won't play this year, or a William Bradley King, or one of these three name guys that I can't remember. He's definitely an upgrade. This is a kid that, he was a leader at Clemson. He was roommates with Trevor Lawrence. Like, this is a well-respected kid that happened to fall. Hey, and it doesn't hurt. His dad's a Redskins fan.
Yeah, go figure. And from nowhere around here. That's
right.
Sixth rounder, Chris Rodriguez, the running back, I think is he's basically that 3rd and 1 guy you stick in there so you don't have to beat Brian Robinson to death.
I tell you, Ron's got a type, don't he?
Yeah, I mean, everybody needs one stud guy to get a yard.
This is your sledgehammer. That's what Ron likes, sledgehammer running backs.
Well, when you need it, you need it.
Yeah.
So Brian Robinson to do that forever because, you'd lessen his effectiveness.
Right.
And then Andre Jones, another edge guy out of Louisiana in the 7th round. So they did have everybody in every round. And Jones is just a developmental guy. We'll see. How many of these 7 make the roster? The 53? I bet 6 do. Maybe Jones is the guy who goes to practice squad, but the rest probably make it.
Yeah, I think it all depends on what they do with Rouillet. Stromberg could be a practice squad type player, but I don't know. 3rd rounders usually make the team.
Yeah, he's going to make it. So the other thing I wrote about in my column for 1067 The Fan, Odyssey.com today is, okay, you had a decent draft, but the problem is your 3 NFC East rivals had better drafts, and Seattle, who may be a wild card competitor with you, had a really good draft. So even though you had a decent draft, you fell behind.
Yeah. The Philadelphia Bulldogs, they're doing pretty good with their draft. The Cowboys lost some pieces that they got rid of, but they seem to have gotten better, and of course the Giants. It's looking like last place again, Rick. But
I mean, there was very few teams that really just sucked. I mean, San Francisco's draft, they didn't have anybody first 2 rounds, so they're drafted.
Miami's draft kind of sucked.
And the only thing San Francisco's plays into is if Seattle were to win the division, San Francisco would be the wild card competitor against Washington. So that was one team that did get ahead of in the draft. But other than that,
a lot of the talking heads seem to make fun of the Cardinals, like they had a pretty bad draft.
Yeah, they weren't going to contend anyway, I think. All right, we're already out of time. So I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt.
We'll be back on Thursday night. Make sure you watch, and we'll see you on Seasons of Discontent later. Thanks for coming.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Seasons of Discontent on the Hogstye Network.